Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. 3 stage contractors charged with fraud in relation to mirror concert accident. Hundreds of millions of workers return home for Chinese New Year holidays. 3 people have been charged with conspiracy to defraud in relation to the mirror concert accident last year. The trio are contractors who allegedly made false claims regarding the weight of the stage equipment. Janice Lowe reports.
The 3 suspects were seen leaving police's Kowloon West Regional Headquarters after securing bail. Police today formally laid charges on the trio from Engineering Impact, the concert's main contractor. It is believed the 2 men, aged 48 and 60, and a 41-year-old woman were the project managers and technical coordinator respectively. They are now facing a joint count of conspiracy to defraud and will appear at West Kowloon Magistracy next month. 2 other people were arrested in November, but no charges will be brought against them. In an accident which stunned Hong Kong, a giant screen fell onto the stage at Hong Kong Coliseum during a sold-out concert by boy band Mirror last July. It landed on 2 dancers, one of whom, Mo Lee, remains in hospital and could be handicapped for life. The accident sent shockwaves across the entertainment industry, while many also asked how such a serious accident could occur at a government venue. A subsequent probe by independent experts blamed the blunder on metal fatigue in the LED screen's suspension cable, causing it to snap. Fail-safe devices were also not properly installed. A separate investigation by police revealed the weight of the suspended stage equipment was vastly understated. In particular, 8 sets of speakers were found to be 7 times heavier than the load declared to the Leisure and Cultural Services Department. Officers believed the contractor was trying to secure approval in a hurry and submitted falsified figures. It remains unknown whether there is negligence on the government's part. On a related note, Labour Minister Chris Sun confirmed an investigation has wrapped up for the company which allegedly hired the dancers without properly insuring them. Authorities are now prosecuting violators of the relevant laws, he said. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Chief Executive John Lee was out and about today, visiting elderly residents and shopping for flowers at Victoria Park. And in a sign of his popularity, he was surrounded everywhere he went. Here's Janice Lowe again.
With Lunar New Year just around the corner, the city's leader paid an early visit to public housing residents in Tsing-yi. Accompanied by Home Affairs Minister Alice Mak, John Lee dished out goodie bags to seniors living alone in Changhang Estate this morning. The chief executive was also mindful of adding a festive touch by decorating their homes with faichens carrying messages of good luck and fortune. On Facebook, he urged Hong Kongers to spend more time with the elderly and care for them. Next stop on his visit was a stall in a nearby market. The chief executive bought some decorations and wished everyone a prosperous year of the rabbit. He even took the rare occasion to talk to store owners, asking about their expectations towards his government. And continuing the tradition, the chief executive paid a visit to Victoria Park this afternoon. The largest Lunar New Year fair in Hong Kong was bustling with shoppers, and many of them, including children, approached Lee for photo opportunities. Lee bought a pot of orchids but revealed it won't be heading back to his residence at Government House. Instead, the flowers will be sent to his secretary, whom he thanked for her hard work. He added it was uplifting to see many happy faces on the streets and pledged to keep up that spirit in the new year. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Millions of Chinese workers are on the move as they head home to reunite with their family, many for the first time in 3 years. But there are worries they may spread COVID to areas previously spared from the outbreak. Chloe Fung reports.
Dubbed the biggest human migration on the planet, hundreds of millions of migrant workers began heading home for their Lunar New Year holidays. With lockdowns prompted by the COVID-0 policy, many of them haven't reunited with their family members for the past 3 years. That made Spring Festival this year all the more important after Beijing dismantled its COVID restrictions. Some 2.1 billion trips on planes, trains, buses, and ferries are expected in the 40 days ending mid-February. But many are worried the travel surge will only add fuel to flames to the ongoing COVID outbreak. Rural regions, which had registered few cases over the past weeks, will be especially vulnerable as workers from big cities return home. Many of those living in remote areas are also not yet vaccinated. Meanwhile, the Cyberspace Administration of China vowed to crack down on what it called rumors regarding COVID outbreaks in a bid to calm public concerns. The National Health Commission also claimed yesterday that the peak period of infections has already passed. That is, despite the World Health Organization recording a 70% jump in hospitalizations last week. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
The death toll from an avalanche that buried vehicles on a highway in Tibet has risen to 20. 8 people remain missing. Hundreds of professional rescuers have been sent to the faraway region to look for survivors. The avalanche occurred on Tuesday night on a stretch of road at the exit of a tunnel in Yingqi City, about 400 kilometers east of Lhasa. Local residents said avalanches are quite frequent in the region, particularly between December and April. Significant casualties are rare, however. Overseas, at least 3 more people have died in the latest round of anti-government protests in Peru. In Lima, protesters clashed violently with police, who were outnumbered and forced to retreat. Demonstrators poured into the capital from the countryside, and street battles like this lasted throughout the day. There were also massive protests in the southeastern city of Cusco. They were demanding Dina Boluarte, the country's 6th president in 5 years, who only assumed office last month, to step down. The South American nation has descended into chaos after former leader Pedro Castillo was ousted in a failed coup. Dozens of people have been killed in the weeks of nationwide protests that followed. More than 1 million people took to the streets across France to protest against the government's plans to reform pension system. While the demonstrations in Paris were mostly peaceful, riot police fired tear gas to counter unruly protesters. Apart from the capital, mass protests were observed in Lyon, Marseille, and Montpellier. The Interior Ministry put the national turnout at 1.1 million, but unions believe the actual number was closer to 2 million. Many were up in arms after the government proposed raising the retirement age from 62 to 64, meaning they will get their pensions later. Speaking in Spain, President Emmanuel Macron vowed to press ahead with the overhaul, but will do it with respect. U.S. actor Alex Baldwin has been charged with involuntary manslaughter over a fatal accident on a movie set in 2021. Prosecutors in the U.S. state of New Mexico announced the decision after a lengthy investigation. Baldwin and the film's crew were rehearsing at a ranch in Santa Fe when the actor fired a live round at the chest of a cinematographer who died in hospital shortly after. Baldwin insisted he did not know the prop gun was loaded. The film's armorer and props assistant will also be charged. Both have signaled the intention to fight the charges. The charge of involuntary manslaughter carries a maximum jail term of 18 months.
And so there are not many crimes that you can commit where you don't have intent, but involuntary manslaughter is one where the prosecution doesn't have the burden of showing there's intent to harm or intent to kill. So they are not in any way claiming that he was intentionally fired the gun knowing there was a live bullet. But what they are claiming is he did not act reasonably. He acted consciously disregarding the fact that firing a weapon could cause death. And he did not take the precautions necessary prior to firing the weapon.
Hong Kong's inflation has climbed to a 3-month high. The Consumer Price Index increased by 2% year-on-year last month, 0.2 of a percentage point higher than November. For the whole of 2022, overall prices were up 1.9%. Authorities attributed the increase last month to a surge in fresh vegetable prices, as well as electricity and gas tariffs. The upward pressure will remain moderate in the near term, according to a spokesman. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed up 393 points. The top 10 active stocks, Alibaba was up $4.10, and Tencent was up $9. AIA Insurance was up 15 cents, Ping An was up $1.70. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.47, and Canadian dollar at 5.81. And over in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up 8 points. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy with 1 or 2 light rain patches on Lunar New Year's Eve. Temperatures will range between 16 and 19 degrees. Expect bright periods on the first day of the Year of the Rabbit. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Thanks for watching. Good night.